I feel thrown into the spotlight, Andy. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. So, just before we get cracking into the first session of the morning, I'd love to get a few samples. What did you find most useful yesterday? Who would like to share? Somebody unmute yourself, or raise a hand, or post it in the chat.
Yeah,
yeah, go for it, Kev.
So my biggest takeaway was nailing the USP with Darcy Juarez. I think that was a great session, and I'm requesting a recording that if possible.
Yeah, no problem. We can sort you that out for you. So, well, go on, let's put you on the spot. What was the USP that you came up with?
Well, I've written it down.
Oh, actually, no. Let me ask a better question.
It's on the website.
What about that session about the USP is most useful for you?
About the USP, I think it's just with the kind of, how did they do it? They did it like let me put up my note on where it was. It was the even if bit at the end. The even if kind of finished my headline, and for me it was like, well, I had everything else in place there, but it was the even if right at the end, which really made a difference for me.
Right, good. Yeah, so it really speaks to the prospect, right? You're really speaking to what's going on inside their head because they've tried everything before, right?
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll tell you what, it was basically, we help over 40s feel fitter, slimmer, and more mobile, even if they haven't exercised in years. And
Good.
That pretty much nails down our client ideal target market.
I love it. Well done, Kev. Nice one. Good example. Somebody else who'd like to share a useful takeaway? Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Yes, so at the end of the day yesterday, I would have agreed with the USP, but just going over my notes again, I think the trends for this year, the first one, the rise of tech. So I think historically in our industry, we don't tend to use too much tech. And at the moment, when you're moving to a brand new membership database with a full working API, and it is opening up like a world of opportunities. And the three things I wrote down were obviously what you said about if you're not keeping up with tech, you're net falling behind. And then I wrote down the thinking that we want to make sure that we're using tech to free up time to focus on making the experience more personal, or to make the customer experience better. And then I wrote down, or it makes our jobs easier. But then later on, rereading this later, I was thinking, actually, even if it makes our job easier, we need to reference it against the first two. And if it makes our job easier, but it doesn't enhance the experience, then we really need to have a big discussion about whether we use that piece of software. Because there's loads out there we're not using. But yeah, I thought that was a really good one. That's a big takeaway for me.
I love that. That's very nice. Very nice. Thanks, Mike. Any final ones? One more? Go for it, Paul.
Oh, just, looking at the internal strengths, found that really interesting because it really shows what you're not doing that you could be doing. So like we've got quite a few clients who would be run their own businesses, or they have opportunities for us to go and look after their team's health, but we haven't tapped into that. And you look at it and think, what an idiot, haven't even thought about that. But that is a hugely untapped resource, and that's a big strength that we have within the business because of our client base.
Good. Well, one of my favorite quotes, Paul, which might make you feel a little bit better, is a Ray Dalio quote, which is, if you can't look back on the you of 12 months ago and be horrified at your thinking and your poor decision making, you're not growing fast enough. So now you're aware of it, you're going to do something about it. So yeah, I'll tell you, congratulations for being an idiot. No, yeah, well done for the thinking. All right, so let's get to it. This morning, we're going to Kevin's going to be delivering content that was the genesis of which was this book, which is a fantastic book, Multiplied by Liz Wiseman. Well worth a read. I read it once 5 or 6 years ago, and I read it again recently. And the second I read it, I couldn't put it down. And I just said, Kevin, read this book. And Kevin also thinks it's an absolute classic. And really, we're talking about leadership, but 5 ways that the best leaders make everyone smarter. You're going to love this session. So please give a rapturous Success Mastermind welcome for Mr. Kevin Hall. Your cue to speak, Kev. Well, that's a bit anticlimactic.
Back a bit beyond him, though.
Yeah.
Right then, can you hear me all?
Yep. Thank you very much. Right then, welcome to this morning's session. So the 5 ways that the best leaders make everyone smarter. And so this is from the multiplier effect. I have to say, I've been really looking forward to sharing this this session today. So let me talk you through how the next 90 minutes is going to play out. Well, first of all, I'm co-presenting this with Julie Phillips, and we'll come to that in a moment. The introduction, what is a multiplier and why is this important? We're going to spend about 10 minutes really on this area, seeding this and explaining what a multiplier is, what the shadow version of that is, called a diminisher, and why this is important. And then we're going to go and break it down for you and going through and take you through the 5 disciplines of the multipliers and the shadow version and diminisher and what that looks like. But we're going to tell you that through the eyes of the employee's experience. So we've both read the book, both loved it, but one of us has worked for, well, both of us have worked for a great multiplier, and one of us has worked for a great diminisher, if you like. So we're going to tell you the experience through the employee's eyes. So on page 18 in your workbook is where we'll be starting. There is a typo in the 3rd column where multiplier is written twice. That should say diminisher. And so therefore, when we go through this about 40 minutes to take you through the 5 disciplines, we'd like you to play along or take part by writing in what the multiplier is, what the diminisher is into page 18. And then on page 19, we would like you to take some notes as you feel appropriate. So think about as we move into the 3rd section, which is the thinking time. So when Julie and I have completed the content, then we're going to put you into 15-minute thinking time. Well, what do you recognize about yourself and others? So what do you see as yourself? What multiplier traits do you see yourself as a leader or as a manager? And maybe you see yourself as a accidental diminisher, or maybe there's someone else like you've had the experience that I've had of working with people in the past that you can see how those have played out. Following that thinking time, then we're going to go into a 20-minute session on discussion, which was where you're going to go into groups of 4 or 5, and then to share your experiences and insights with the outcome of developing your multiplier behaviors so that you can enhance and improve your skills as leaders and managers to get more out of the people that work for you and work with you. And at the end of that session, then we'll have 5 minutes for shares where we'll all come back into the room together so we can share what your insights, takeaways, decisions, and or any questions. So this is the book that we're taking this information from. So Julie, the reason I asked Julie to co-present today was a couple of reasons, really. One is that Julie was supposed to co-present in December, but wasn't able to for a last-minute reason. And the second reason is that when Dan told Julie at a PMM meeting that I would be covering this topic, she got in touch with me straight away because she loved the book. So Julie, what is it, of all the books that you've been suggested you could read and you have read and you haven't read, because we all get so many that come to us and it's hard to pick and choose which ones to read, why this one? Why this book? What made you read it from start to finish?
Firstly, hi everybody. I just thought it was a really practical book, really easy read, and just give some real insight. It answered a lot of, it will answer a lot of your leadership issues. It gave a good perspective into my own leadership style, but as an employee, what it did was it demonstrated how I'd been led over my career. So for me, this book is all around, it's about getting the most out of your resource and driving that performance. And it, like I say, it's so practical. It's got quizzes. It's got a quiz at the back that you can take. End of every chapter is a really great summary. It's got great FAQs. And I mean, I remember when we've been talking about it, Kevin, the research and the examples that are in the book are fantastic. So highly recommend, highly recommend.
So what I'd like to do before we start is to think about what are your learning outcomes. As leaders and managers of people, What's a learning outcome for you the next 90 minutes? What might you be looking for from the information we're going to share? What question might you have that you would like to get the answer to? So try and, if you can, focus on something that you would like to gain from this particular session. So the tale of two managers. So these two types, this multiplier and diminisher type, have a fundamental underlying belief. And the diminisher type is where people won't figure it out without me, is their fundamental underlying belief. I had about 7 or 8 years ago, I worked for a chap whose name I won't reveal because he might be known, he's not here to defend himself, etc. So I'm just going to call him Paul. But this guy, super successful, like uber successful businessman, strong business acumen, amazing market insight, great mentor to people. But when I worked for his company for 1 year, as I read this book, I had my experience of working for the company for a year and I didn't enjoy it for different reasons. But when I read this book, it really made it quite obvious to me why I didn't enjoy it, because of the behaviors that this particular person exhibited. And about this multiplying diminisher, as I put in on page 18 for you, this is not a book, it's not binary, you're not one or the other. But as a leader or a manager, you can almost swim between the two. Sometimes you'll show up in some multiplier effects style exhibit behaviors, and then sometimes diminisher. And no one sets out to be a diminisher. It's possible that you could be an accidental diminisher. It's possible you're behaving in a way that you didn't know was curtailing the efforts of the people that work for you. You just didn't know that was happening. So you could be an accidental diminisher. So what we're going to highlight today is what the multiplier behaviors are, the diminisher behaviors, and they're for you to see what the two are, and then to work out your best. And then from your point, Julie?
So from the last 25 years of my career, I've worked for large corporates, SMEs, startups, and I've had some great bosses and leaders. But it wasn't until I joined CHS Group 6 years ago where my career took that next step. Now, a lot of you guys will know my current boss and the business owner of CHS Group, Emma Cartmel. She presented at last SMM, and she's been part of PMM. Oh, Kevin, 5 years, maybe, yeah. I don't know if she's watching. She has no idea I'm about to speak about her for the next 40 minutes. So surprise, Emma. So for me, working for Emma has been a complete game changer. And I obviously asked myself, well, why is it? What is it that Emma has done to get that out, to help my career? And it wasn't until I read the book that it completely made sense, because I can now see that Emma demonstrates the traits and practices of a multiplier every day. And by doing that, what she's done is she's unlocked my potential, and she has allowed me to go from that middle management where I've been sat for sort of 10 years to go to that sort of next level, that exec level. I joined CHS as a freelancer, and then I went to a marketing manager. And then a couple of years ago, I'm now in the role of Chief Operating Officer and helping Emma run the business day to day. So for me, I completely work for a multiplier.
Brilliant. Yeah, so what we're saying here then is, just to reiterate from my point of view, from the diminishes, they can be very successful people.
Yeah.
But in my experience, it's just not nice to be around that type of person. That was all. So what is the multiplier effect? So the impact of a multiplier can be seen in two ways from what this book shows us. Is from the point of view of the people they work with, which is what we're going to share with you, what our experiences were, and then from the point of view of the organization they shape and create. So multipliers and diminishes can be, in our situation, the owners and leaders of small businesses, but of course also can work in large corporates. So therefore they could manage or lead a department. what multipliers do, because of the way that they work with the way that they work with their team and the way that they lead, is they increase the intelligence in people and in the organization they work in. And people actually get smarter and more capable when they're around them. The result being that if there's you can get twice as much from your resources than diminishers do. And diminishers underutilize people and leave capability on the table, and the result being 50% less from their resource. Well, what that means is that, let's say if an individual is capable of giving 100%, that's their belief, they're 100%. The way that a diminisher works with that person reduces and reduces and gives less and less, and they're only going to get 50% out of that person's possible 100%. But the multiplier, when working with the same individual, because of the way that they talk to them, treat them, create the environment, etc., that person may believe they can give 100%, but the multiplier will get 200% out of that person, twice as much as what that person even thinks they're capable of themselves. So there's a big difference and big impact on what the two can achieve.
I also think I just want everyone to just consider, when I read this in the book, I thought it was really powerful. Just consider this. It is possible to be overworked and underutilized. So you may be sat there thinking, my team is absolutely flat out. They can't take on any more. They still might be underutilized. So I just think that as we go through this today, just something to consider.
So just to create a nice summary at the start for us all, the multiplier has this underlying belief that people are smart and will figure this out, and the diminisher has the underlying belief that they will not figure this out without me. So when it comes to how would you manage talent?
Multiplier be using language and be very much of the mindset of developing.
And the diminisher using.
Yeah.
So they'll be using like how to use people rather than develop people. And when it comes to approaching mistakes.
Again, multiplier is all around exploring it, having a teaching after it, understanding why that mistake happened, and make it as a teaching exercise.
And the diminisher is a finger pointer, is a blamer, it's a blame culture that's created. And that was certainly the case where I worked for that business for that year. But you feel that, oh no, I hope I'm going to get away with it today, because things always go wrong in businesses. There are always mistakes made, but a diminisher would create a blame culture, not a nice place to be. And what about when it comes to setting direction?
I think a multiplier is all around challenging and stretching the team, getting more out of them, making them stretch themselves beyond what they think they know. So stretching your team and testing them daily.
And a diminisher, rather than challenge and ask, they will tell. The diminisher is all about telling. It's all about what they know, and telling you what to do. And when it comes to making decisions,
very much a consultative approach, asking everyone around the team, getting contribution.
And from a diminisher's point of view, they will decide for you what's going to happen and what's going to take place, and don't really take on the opinions of the people that make up their team, but when they decide, they may have spoke to just one other person. So they have a much more limited view on the different options that could create a better solution than one that they had themselves.
And
when it comes to
get things done, multiplier, very supportive. It's all about removing blockers to help them be successful and achieve what they need to achieve.
And from the diminisher's point of view, it's all about control. It's all about being in control and deciding and making every decision, every action, knowing exactly what's going on, everything feeding into them. And and I think it can become quite you put yourself under a lot of pressure. Everything hangs on you, on that person. So we'd like you to ask yourself another question now. So I've asked you to think about what your learning outcome might be for this, but we've got 2 more questions now for you to think about. Is there more intelligence and capacity inside your organization than you thought? Or did you already realize that, but you just didn't know how to access it?
Second question. What could your organisation achieve with 2 times more capacity and capability from your staff?
So these are just thinking questions, just to keep to yourself for now. We're not asking you to share at all, but just to ask questions to ask yourself. So the 5 disciplines of a multiplier.
Yeah, should we get into them?
Yeah, this is where you can start writing onto page 18 now.
Right, so number 1 is the talent magnet. This is all around attracting and optimizing the talent in your company. Number 2, the liberator. It's about creating that environment that requires the best thinking, getting the most out of your staff. 3, the challenger. It's all around stretching, extending the challenges. 4, the debate maker. It's all around that vigorous debate, making decisions. And number 5, final one, is the investor, which is all around that ownership and accountability within your teams.
Excuse me. So we're now going to take you through our experiences of working for a multiplier or a diminisher, and tell you that through the eyes of the employee experience. So, talent manager, Julie.
So, a talent magnet attracts talented people and uses them to their fullest capability and capacity. They may have access to the best talent, but that doesn't mean they're fantastic recruiters. It just means people flock and want to work with them. So if we go to the 4 practices, number 1 is look for talent everywhere. And this is all around how a talent magnet will look beyond the traditional methods of attracting or finding your next A player. There was a great example in the book that I just want to share. There was a CEO of a high-tech company in Beijing who was a typical talent magnet, constantly on the prowl for the best talent from universities, from his competitors. At the end of each working day, he would sit outside his competitor's office in his Uber-registered car and pick up employees from his competitors. And once they were in his car, he'd strike up a conversation with them. He was deliberately hunting out that genius, that next A player. I wouldn't say that's a recruitment strategy. I would say that was slightly extreme and a little bit stalky, but I think it's a great example of a mindset of that talent magnet. So if we go for number 2, find people's native genius. Now, for me and Emma in our business, for us, we would call that unique abilities, because we have implemented EOS. We're very passionate about EOS, or traction, the Gino Wickman books. So when we talk about native genius, I always refer back to finding people's unique abilities. And when someone is working, or employees working within their unique abilities, you will see high energy. They will love what they do. They will be passionate. They'll be, another way to describe it, they'll be in flow. They'll be finding their purpose, and it'll seem effortless to them, and they'll give it freely because it is effortless. It doesn't even seem like a task to them. So that's how you define someone in their unique abilities. So within CHS, Emma is really passionate about making sure that every member of the team is working within their unique abilities. So, I mean, even one of our core values is passionate, and the definition around that is love what you do, find your purpose, and be successful. So like, we're living and breathing that as a team every day. So that's what, when you're talking about finding people's native genius, that's what I'm talking about, unique abilities. So number 3, utilize people to their fullest. Once you've uncovered someone's native genius, it's about looking for the right projects, the right opportunities, and then demanding that capacity and capability from them. And once you do that, a multiplier will shine a light on them and will make sure everyone around sees them and sees that A player and sees how successful they are. Number 4 is around removing blockers. Now, this is a big one in CHS. A multiplier and a talent magnet wants talent to grow and understands that they will need to remove any blockers that will stop that growth. So within CHS, we use language daily. It's always removing blockers. So we have a Monday morning meeting with the whole team. Every single member of the team says what they need to achieve for the week. And Emma's pure focus and motivation is, what blockers do I need to take off or remove for you to be successful and to achieve that this week? And when I talk about removing blockers, I'm talking about external blockers.
Cool. So the opposite, the shadow, if you like, the diminisher is labeled or named as the empire builder. Diminisher's approach to managing talent is people think they need to report to me in order to get them to do any work. So they acquire resources and put them into the organizational chart under the command of the leader. I definitely felt that was a situation when I worked for Paul. I was originally hired to do one particular role and it didn't work out, and I was quickly got rid of. And then this other role became available. It was suggested to him, and then they worked hard to get me back into the company, but just to sit in the org chart and under the command of him. And they also put people in boxes, so they're making key decisions one-on-one rather than with the team. So this certainly would be situations where the people in this organization, only a couple of them got to do something different to what they were actually employed to do. Everyone else didn't move from the role they were employed for. There was no opportunity to grow. They didn't have the opportunity to spread their wings and to fly and to give more to that organization than they could have done. They were definitely boxed in. And they let talent languish. So talent managers give credit and empire builders take credit. So yeah, when something goes well, like we're a diminisher or create a blame culture, but the empire builder also takes the credit for when things do work well. So in summary, both talent magnets and empire builders attract top talent. But what differentiates them is what they do with the talent once it's in the door. And talent magnets don't run out of talent by moving their people onto bigger, better opportunities, because there is already a steady stream of talent waiting to get into their organization. So they're not fearful of losing people, and they're very happy for their people to grow. And if it's in a larger organization, then it may be that they're better to move to a different department because they can really excel when they've got skills that other department can use. And empire builders hoard resources and underutilized talent. It's almost like they put their arms around it and they want to hide the people they've got, and it is just a fear of losing people because they've then got to go and recruit someone else. But the talent magnet has already got the flow, has already got the next person that's hopefully ready to come through. So our next multiplier is called the liberator, and the shadow of that is the tyrant.
Right, so number 2 is your liberator. And what liberators do is they create an environment where good things happen. They engage staff, they engage their intelligence, they grow it, and they want everyone to be successful. And again, there's 3 practices that we're going to cover off. 1, create space. Every member of your team needs space. And liberators don't take it for granted that they've got that space. They deliberately carve out space for their staff to make that contribution. So for example, if I do an example of CHS group, we have a 2-day offsite every quarter. Whole staff goes. And what Emma does there is she creates an external environment. We're not in the office, like I say, we're offsite, where she can engage everyone's intelligence in the company. And it's about our 2-day offsites can be about that strategic thinking, that vision piece. It could be solving the big issues of the business, but every single member, top to bottom, contributes. And another way that she does this, Kevin, because you're normally there at our 2-day offsites. I think you just turn up now. I don't even think we invite you.
Part of the family.
Yeah. But Emma always has an external facilitator. And that's because if Emma was to facilitate that 2-day, she wouldn't be present. She wouldn't be sat at the table with the team, making sure that everybody had a voice, everybody was heard, and was just completely present in what we're trying to achieve. So again, she always has someone like yourself facilitating so we can achieve that right learning outcome.
Yeah, I definitely observed that. Brilliant.
Now, number 2, demand best work. So liberators will create a space for you, but what they will demand in return is your best work. They won't let you off the hook. There was, again, another example in the book, which I find quite powerful, was where a boss assigned a task to an employee to write a report. The employee submits the report. The boss asks, "Is this your best work?" The employee goes away and rewrites it. Submits again. The boss, "Is this your best work?" Again, I'm going to go rewrite that. Off he goes, rewrites it. Employee comes back the 3rd time, submits his report. And as he hands it in, goes, "This is my best work." To which the boss goes, "Brilliant. Then this time I will read it." And I think it just gives you an example of how a liberator just demands the best and pushes you for your best work. And number 3 is generate rapid learning cycles. So again, liberators give people permission to make mistakes. Everyone makes them, and they make that a safe environment. And obviously what they do is give the opportunity for them to learn from them. So what happens is so true in CHS. Emma has always said to all of us, just make a decision. If it's the wrong decision, we will have a conversation about it, and we'll have it'll be a teaching exercise, and it'll be with the team. But thank you for making a decision. She wants a staff that are there that make decisions and don't just wait to be told what to do. We're a small business. So then we get a culture of where staff go, "Okay, it's safe for me to make a decision." And they'll always ask, "Well, what will Emma do?" And by having that, you're not going to go far wrong. And we have this environment where people aren't scared to make a decision. You know, we have that culture. And also we have that, Emma always says, which I love, kind on the person, tough on the issue.
Yes.
Which I just think fantastic, because what I hear a lot of the times, Kevin, I don't know how many times you hear it, but how many people in the room today have said, "I'm sick of spoon feeding my team."
I might have heard that once or twice.
So, but you've got to then create this environment where people are allowed to make mistakes. And listen, if we make a mistake, don't make it again. Emma's very strong about you don't make it a second time, but it's very much thank you for making a decision, and let's discuss how I may have done that differently.
So how in your experience, how would Emma prevent someone from making a decision that could either be a catastrophic one? And secondly, what does a rapid learning cycle look like when you've had that experience?
So for me, I mean, I've seen Emma in action when she's gone, the biggest mistakes, she'll always say, I've made the biggest mistakes. It's me that's got control of, the business, the bank, the legal, so if anyone's going to make a massive bit, it'll be me.
Right.
So again, she's giving perspective. She's giving and she's allowing that space, and she's stretching the team to think for themselves. And how do you learn quickly? What happens that creates the rapid learning cycle? How do you learn quickly from the the mistake? Because it's discussed there and then you know what I mean. So people are given it's quick. It's just how we live and breathe it. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for making that decision. I would have done it this way. Brilliant. Teach next time. Go. So it's in our language. But every meeting, when people turn up on a Monday, they're expected to make decisions.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like encouragement, and it's gratitude, and it's a learning environment, right?
Yeah.
So interestingly, the tyrant, which is the other side, the diminishes style, creates a tense environment that suppresses people's thinking and capability. That's exactly what it was like when I worked for this company for that year. So the tyrant dominates the space. They create anxiety and judge others. I really found it not looking forward to getting up in the morning and going to work. I really found that, because mistakes always happen, problem always happen, always in business. And there was lots of, a lot of finger pointing. And the anxiety would be that I really thought, oh my God, I have to go. And I'd just put one foot in front of the other, get on the train, get off the train, walk into the office, knowing I was going to walk into an environment where I felt anxiety, walking into an environment where you feel like you're all held up against the wall, where the atmosphere is heavy, the atmosphere is a bit toxic, the atmosphere is a bit, just not nice. And it's not, it takes a lot of bravery to suggest ideas, because as we'll come on to in a minute, they just get shot down. And it's someone's at fault. And so you're just thinking, going, oh, please don't be me today, or please hope I can get away with this, or please don't spend too long just like digging me out in front of everyone else. It's just not nice. And of course, when judge others, in my experience in working for that company, is that people would be judged in front of others, like in the group, by the tyrant, who's dominating the space at the front of the room. So not again, I was saying, like, diminishes do get great results, but that's a way they behave, and that's not a nice place to be in. So I saw a lot of people in the company.
You're going to be clocking in 9 to 5, aren't you? You're going to be getting in and getting the hell out.
Yeah. You don't feel like you want to give more. You don't feel like you want to do more than the hours you're going to be paid for. You don't feel like you want to put in extra. Not unless one day you somehow that type of boss likes you as a person, and then he might treat you a bit differently.
Yeah.
But as a group, that's the type of atmosphere that I definitely experienced. So, in summary, the path of least resistance is often a path of tyranny, because many organizations are skewed. A leader can be above average in an organization and still operates a tyrant. Definitely the situation I experienced. Liberators maintain a combination of giving people permission to think, while also creating an obligation for them to do their best work. As we were talking about earlier, I love that obligation. You feel obligated to give your best. And multipliers are intense. Leaders who can detect and create the difference between a tense and an intense climate can access significantly more brain power from their organizations. So as we've given there, Julie's given an example of working in an intense environment. And I certainly felt that when I was invited to spend 2 days with Emma's team. It was intense, we worked hard, etc. But my experience, it was a tense climate when I was working for Paul, and not a nice place to be.
Yeah.
So moving on to the third one, the challenger versus the know-it-all.
So number 3, the challenger. They're all around getting the right challenge and stretching their team. And a lot of challengers, they'll be the first people to hold their hands up and go, I don't know how to do this. Over to you guys. You're the experts. You're the right people. You go through this. This is your challenge. And it's all around pushing their teams, stretching them, testing them beyond even what they think is possible. And again, there's 3 practices. So seed the opportunity. This is all around understanding that people grow through challenge and being tested. And they understand that intelligence grows through that being stretched. So what multipliers will do is they will give the question, or give the answer. No, sorry, instead of giving the answer, they will pose the question, set up that process of sort of discovery, and then provoke that thinking time for the team. So again, going back to ourselves and CHS, a couple of years ago now, Kevin, we did one of our 2-day away days. You were there again. And Emma shared an opportunity. She described how she wants to take CHS to that next level. She wanted to bring on some key hires, and she wanted a more successful business, and she wanted to grow. So she seeded the opportunity, but she openly said, I have no idea how we're going to do it. So if we go to number 2, lay down the challenge. So again, Emma shared this 1-year vision. It was 90-90. And what that was 90K, 90 grand in the bank cash, and to score 90 out of 100 on EOS score, because we were a long way through implementing EOS, and it was a real passion of ours. And what Emma did with laying down that challenge, she gave the vision, but then she provided clarity. She told us where our current position is. We're at ground zero. We're here. This is where we are now. And then she said, how we're going to do it, guys, it's over to you. And I think each department just took ownership, went off into their own. We had a breakout, didn't we, Kevin? They all went off into their corners. Each department wrote their kind of like strategic plan, their roadmap of how we were going to achieve this 90-90 in 12 months' time. And then everyone came back and presented. Everybody wanted to win for Emma, but for themselves. They wanted to be on a winning team. And if you go to number 3, that generate belief in what is possible, Emma, this is where when I read the book, it really made me smile, because Emma is a true challenger, because she provides that honesty, the clarity. She provides the milestones and what success looks like. And so we know when we've landed, so we know where we're at. But she'll hold her hands up, and she'll honestly say, I don't know how to get there. And she'll sort of bring the team in, she'll inspire the team. And she does that with positive language, high energy. Her body language is always positive. You know, she never comes into that 2-day going, right, we've got to, I want to get 90 grand. She empowers us, she inspires us. And I mean, I'll ask you the question. I mean, what was the energy and the confidence like from the team? It was in that room that afternoon.
Yeah, incredible. I think that like what you said a minute ago is really important. It's the how is not important. How we're going to get there is the least important. Yeah. Until we set the challenge and we know where we're starting from and where we need to get to, and then we can start to fill the gap. Yeah. And then the how comes from there. So she doesn't really need to worry about the how. What I also love was that she would create the opportunity, led on the challenge, have the comment, and of course I was being used on this occasion. So she and I would have the conversation. So I would be on the same page. I would know what was need to be created, what was need to be asked, how we need to run those 2 days. And then, of course, you just see the team flourish. And I was looking through my very own eyes at those individuals over those 2 days on the 3 or 4 occasions we did it. Every time we're just seeing these people grow and develop and take on the challenge and want to own it. And then, of course, watching you as well. So, for example, when it came up with the score of 90 out of 100 on the EOS score, you just owned that. And then when you owned it, the other people in the team then came in and then, right, this is our department, we're going to work on this. This is our department, marketing, we are operations, we are sales. And then everyone took ownership for their piece about what they were then going to do and then by when. And so being in that environment was it's just so growing. It's just such a great energy to be in.
Everyone wants to be on a winning team. And just to finish, we did achieve 90-90 12 months later. We actually overachieved.
So the know-it-all, the diminisher gives answers. I love this. Good leaders ask questions. Multipliers ask really hard questions. So diminishers want to test that you know what they know. So going back to working with Paul, either on a one-to-one basis or in a small group or in front of the whole organization, I have so many memories of them asking me a question to test what they already know. Like, why? Why are you putting me on the spot to see if I know what you know? And why am I going to give you an answer that, that then you go, yes, well done, or no, and then tell me what the right answer is? Diminishers like to tell you how to do your own job. So yes, that happened as well. So at the time I was looking after his customer service. I remember I had my own office for a while, but then you know, something wouldn't be working right in the company. Of course, that would just translate into the customer service part where, you know, some clients be unhappy or what have you. But the amount of times he'd come in and tell me how to do my job, and I'll just be like, he'd just be talking at me, not sometimes like a hairdryer, but not always, but just talking at me, and I'll just be thinking, right, what, can I think this out for myself? Can I? Because you're just telling me what to do, and I just feel clipped and shut down, and then I have to do it your way and not any other way. It's just restrictive. And diminishes don't invite contribution, and they want to tell you what they know. So it makes them feel good to tell you what they know and what they're good at. And there's that, you know, that underlying belief.
I mean, you gave a great example when we were talking about this before, Kevin, where what did he used to do your sales team with a script?
Oh yes. So this Paul, brilliant businessman, super successful, made millions, brilliant. But he was also a great salesman. So he would hire salespeople to come into the company, and then he would give them a script to do that. If they didn't do it verbatim 3 times, they were out the door. I saw people strong-armed out that office on a weekly basis. So the salesperson would come in, they wouldn't have the opportunity to flourish and grow and try something different. They would have to do the script verbatim, pauses everything exactly as he said it. Otherwise sacked.
Wow. Restricting.
So the summary here is then the challenger know-it-alls give directives and showcase how much they know. As a result, they limit what their organization can achieve so that they themselves know how to do. It's restricted to their own perception. You're not getting the whole picture if it's just one person. So the organization uses energy to deduce what the boss thinks, and that's what we used to do. What is Paul thinking? Challengers define opportunities that challenge people to go beyond what they know how to do. As a result, they get an organization that understands the challenge and has the focus and energy to take it on, which is exactly what I observed working when I had the opportunity to work with Emma and Julie's team. And this last one, they ask questions that not only challenge people to think, but to rethink. They ask questions so immense that people can't answer them based on their current knowledge or where they currently stand. And to answer these questions, the organization must learn. So we have this happen a lot in our business. And also 2 years ago, I went to Keith Cunningham's event, business MBA in the States. He asked me a question. So how do I know when I've been asked a question that's so immense I can't answer it? I feel pissed off. That's how I feel. I get this reaction comes out of me that goes like just angry. So 2 years ago, Keith Cunningham asked a question for our business. How can you have 100% retention? I'm like, that's ridiculous. You can't get 100% retention. You can't control people. You can't make all this nonsense came out of my thoughts as my initial reaction. And the same will happen in our business with Dan. So Dan is a great questioner, thinks of great questions, great coach, but he doesn't just think of questions on the spot. When we do our quarterly planning 2 days or 3 days at the end of the year, he's gone away, he's researched, he's got information from different books, from different people, and he conjures up great questions and he comes back and answers them. And I frigging hate it because he's asked me a question I can't answer. But our organization can't answer it in the moment. And what's great is he doesn't expect or need an answer there and then. It's impossible for us to give an answer there and then. It means that we're challenged as a team. We need to go away and think about, put our heads together, take some time and debate over the 2 days the answer to the question. And we're not even come up with the answer in 2 days. It could take a quarter. It could even take another quarter. So moving to the fourth one, the debate maker versus decision maker.
So number 4, the debate maker. They're all about, they don't focus on what they know. They work on the assumption that as a team, we can figure it out. So they're interested in hearing from everyone in the business, top to bottom. They want their insight. They want them to contribute. And they understand that by having rigorous debate, it stretches a team and it makes the organization smarter. So if we go back into the 3 practices, number 1, frame the issue. The debate maker will know the right questions to pose to the right team. They will frame the issue and then get a process that everyone gets in the room and everyone's allowed to contribute. And then 2, spark the debate. So for example, with us, Emma is really good at creating that safe environment where debate can take place. And as everyone in our business is expected to contribute. And in return for that, Emma's respectful and she'll make sure that every single person is heard. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm going to coin a phrase from Gavin Scott. Emma doesn't allow BMWs. She's not having bitching, moaning. We're dealing in fact. We're dealing with the issue. We're not going off on tangents, and we're having this debate. And then what that creates is, again, at every level of the business, they're getting into the discipline of being of problem solving, doing that critical thinking. And I mean, just think about having a business where you've got that discipline from your staff. It's a game changer.
So Julie, how does Emma do that? How does she create the debate? What processes or what meetings or what opportunities exist in your business that creates a debate to have those debates and drive those sound decisions?
So as you know, we have implemented EOS, and one of the tools within EOS is a issue solving tool, and it's IDS: identify, discuss, and solve for good. And we have that sort of mindset in our business. So in every level 10 meeting, every Monday morning meeting, there's an IDS section. So every week we are prioritizing the major issues in our business.
What's a level 10 meeting?
Sorry, level 10 meeting. Sorry, it's an EOS. It's an agenda that we follow, which is that you go through for EOS.
Okay, so from the book Traction, yeah.
Yeah, it's from Traction. So I can put it into the Facebook group. But you've lost me now, Kevin. You've thrown.
Oh, beg your pardon. So yeah, just saying to you, how does you said you have a level 10 meeting and you use IDS?
Yeah. So we use IDS. So every week we have in the discipline and the practice of solving problems and solving them for good. So we don't want people to moan and moan and moan about this problem and it keeps coming back into the business. It keeps coming back and it keeps coming up at every meeting. You just know how exhausting that is and how demotivating it is if you're not solving it. So the tool gives you a really good structure to identify it. So people have got to come with their issue and it's got to be concise. It's got to be in a sentence. So we've got to have thought it through, because people can't just come and then start moaning about something. Come to the meeting, come prepared, and come with your issues. And that's in a sentence. And then it's discussed. And again, no like blaming. No, it's not about the people. Kind on the person, tough on the issue, remember. And then it gets discussed with the aim to solve it for good, so it doesn't keep coming back into the business.
Cool.
So then 3, drive a sound decision. What I just say there is Emma will IDS things, but at the end of the day, Emma will make a decision, or whoever is owning that issue makes a decision.
Okay, great. So the decision maker. At first glance, it appears that diminishes make efficient decisions. However, because their approach only utilizes the intelligence of a small number of people and ignores the rigor of debate. So quite often, like people say to me, "Oh, what does I've never had coaching. What's coaching like? What do you get from coaching?" And I'll just use the same. So looking at my window here, I can see into like a little street I live on, 20 miles an hour, speed limit, mini roundabout, 4 roads going onto the roundabout. Every week there's an accident on that roundabout for some reason. But if the police were meant to ask someone what happened, and they were just one person on one corner, they would give him their viewpoint of the accident. And then if there were 3 other people staying on each corner, and he went to ask each of those 3 other people, he would look at his report and he would ask himself, did you all see the same accident? Because they'd seen the accident happen only from the viewpoint that they have. So in this situation, a decision maker, the diminisher decision maker is only really seeing, is shutting down the opportunity to see solutions for that other people could bring to the table. So when a business problem arises, diminishers don't allow others to easily contribute. Yeah, I definitely felt that when I was working in a Paul's company. Diminishers tend to dominate discussion of their own ideas. Again, they don't like to sit back. They don't like to let others have their say. And it's not like it's shut down completely. It does happen, but the person doesn't get to say that much before they cut in, before they take over, before they have to then dominate and say their bit and finish that. And diminishers force decisions through either by relying heavily on their own opinion or by shortcutting a debate. So another thing that I would see is that he would speak to his right-hand person quite a lot, and not really involve the team, and not really, you know, it could be, if there's a customer service issue, why isn't he speaking to me about that? Why is he speaking to his right-hand person? And then they're coming to me. So I felt, observing that situation, the right-hand person was a bit of a sandwich in the middle. They were getting all the shit from the business owner at the top, and they were getting all the shit from the team underneath. And she was
going to win.
Can't win. She was stuck in the middle, just getting grief from above and grief from below, because it wasn't open to debate. So therefore, the team, the workforce, could be unhappy with a decision, or think it's not been well thought through, or it's not the best solution. But you're just told to do it and just get on with it. Just do it that way. Mm. And so, you know, as an employee in that type of environment, you never get the opportunity to think and grow and use your own mind. You go, well, what am I here for? I'm just getting paid to do what? Just to do what I'm told. Yeah. And so, you know, what's the excitement for you as an individual working in that type of environment? Very little. So in the summary, as a leader, you can have very strong opinion, but also facilitate the debate that creates room for other people's views. Data is the key. So we saw, I saw last night on the news, Patrick Balance was saying that they got, you know, Boris Johnson saying, oh, a year on, if we'd known now, if we knew then what we know now, how they would have made different decisions and done things differently. And he said, data is the key, you know, having the information. And so therefore, these decisions should be made on not opinions, not feelings, not thoughts, but actually get the relevant information. And this is obviously what we talk about a lot in this particular program, having your data, knowing your numbers, scoreboards, etc., so you can make decisions. Data is key. And debate makers are equally comfortable being decision making in the end. They are not only consensus driven leaders, and rigorous debate doesn't break down a team. So, I mean, this is definitely one of the strengths of the business, of our business, is that we have rigorous debate, and we have had some ding dongs. Not actually that many recently, but sometimes people in the team say, this is particularly between Dan and I, to be honest, but sometimes in the team, people go, oh, we've really missed those ding dongs you and Dan used to have. Or you're going to have another ding dong today, and they'll just watch this. Because the point being, you don't want to be a yes man, and you might not believe in, it's the right decision, but you want to create debate. You want to create an opportunity to see a business decision from as many sides as possible, and not make the decision too quickly, also not too slowly, but to arrive at the right decision strategically, so you can move forward in the right direction. And yeah, we would have some absolute ding dongs, rigorous debate. Did it make me want to leave the company? No, but it actually made and built a team stronger. So what we do now is, it's much less Dan and I go at each other, but we have rigorous debate within our team. And it just makes the team stronger. And it makes us, when we arrive at the decision, we've much more, all of us are engaged, much more aware it is the right thing. Everyone's been heard. Everyone's had their opportunity to say, and also you get challenged on it. And you might go, it's not about being right. That's the most important thing. It's not about being right.
But do you want to be surrounded by yes people?
Right, you don't. And diminishers.
Is that going to get you?
The diminisher style is about being right. And this environment that I work in with this fantastic team with DB, it's not about being right, but about creating that rigorous debate.
Yeah.
So the final one, the investor versus the micromanager.
Yeah, on to the final one, guys. So the investor, all around, invested in the team, then handing over ownership because they want them to be successful independent of them. So the 3 practices: define ownership. So an investor will, again, after they've identified your unique ability, they'll find you the right challenge, the right project, they've carved out that space for you. They will then hand over ownership and get out of the way. That is key. Get out of the way. So for me, working with Emma, obviously she when I took on the role of COO, she obviously was handing over a lot of the day-to-day business running of the business to myself. How she did that, she completely told me what was expected of me. She gave me clarity. She pushed me out of my comfort zone daily, but she supported me while doing that. And then what she didn't do, she didn't jump in and out. She didn't meddle. And because that just causes confusion in the team. If Emma was jumping back in, making those day-to-day decisions. And she got out of the way. She allowed me to own that role. So number 2, invest in resource. Again, Emma's super passionate about investing in the team. She understands what she's going to get back twofold. She invests in the team. She understands what the business is going to get back from that. So if you take me, for example, we use Kevin, we use Dan, she coming into the business, supporting us. She's exposed me as the employee to PMM and SMM. So I'm not the business owner, but as the sort of like the COO in that role, Emma knew that surrounding me with business owners like you guys out there today will take my personal development to that next level, will help my critical thinking, will help my strategic thinking. So yeah, she completely opened the door to me to like this new community. And 3, hold people accountable. Now I have, because Emma did a presentation about this last SMM, you can't hold people accountable. Accountability comes from good leadership and good management. And if you have good leadership and you have good management, the byproduct of that is great accountability. And again, how do we do this in CHS? We have implemented, EOS has helped us greatly because it's given us a framework, it's given us that operating system, but we have scorecards. Everyone in our business has a number they're responsible for. We have, again, I've talked about it before, level 10 meetings every Monday morning. Everybody's on it. Everybody knows what's expected of them. And then we get them off for the week. We get them focused. We remove those blockers. We deal with any issues, and then everyone's off for the week. And through doing all of those things, I think we have great accountability in the business.
Right. So the micromanager, the diminisher style is to assume people will never be able to figure this out without me. So when a diminisher leads an organization, things fall apart. If it's a large organization and they're responsible for managing or leading a department or a team, they're in control of everything. They want to know everything that's going on. They want to make all the decisions for all the people. And so if they leave that role, everyone's left floundering. What do I do now then? Because the people in the team no longer take responsibility because they're not and never been asked to, invited to. And all the responsibility sits on that particular diminisher style. So when they leave, that's when things fall apart. And diminishers create reliance upon themselves and think for others. So it's a very stressful way to be. And you think everything's on you. And therefore, like looking at the 3rd one, they look outwards and ask themselves, why are people always letting me down? Well, because you've never given them the challenge, you've never given them responsibility, you've never opened up the environment. It's a closed environment with a diminisher style, because it goes to the top. People will never be able to figure it out without me. That's the underlying belief. So it becomes a micro area, if you like, and diminisher is king and just makes all the decisions and just takes control of everything. So when that happens, people descend to just give up and just do what they need to do and which is what gets them through the day. And again, like we said earlier, just not a great environment to work in. So the summary, therefore, is multipliers do get involved in operational details, but they keep the ownership with other people. And multipliers are rated at 42% higher at delivering world-class results than their diminisher counterparts. So I'd have to say one of the great things about this book, Multipliers, is it's just so well researched. It's got great data and stories and information in to back up the, these disciplines that the authors have come up with. So
we're 10 minutes over, Kevin.
I know. Right. It's fine. It's time for you now to we're going to go into the third part, which is your thinking time. So I'm going to invite you now to take 15 minutes. On page 20 is to think about what experiences can you recall of working with a leader that exhibits the disciplines of a multiplier and the traits of a diminisher? What do you recognize in yourself? Where are you a multiplier, and where might you be an accidental diminisher? And in a given situation, think about 2 ways that you can improve your multiplier disciplines and 2 ways that you want to change if you have identified for the last 40, 50 minutes where you might be an accidental diminisher. So it's, I'm just going to make it 10 minutes rather than 15, just to grab 5 minutes back. So it's going to go silent. Going to leave you 10 minutes just to think for yourself, to think through those 3 questions and jot some answers down, ready to go into the group discussion. Okay, so we're just over 5 minutes into the thinking times. We've got just under 5 minutes left. Okay, just 30 seconds left just to finalize your thoughts. Okay then, right. We're going to go into a group exercise in a moment. So on page 20 again, you can see the 3 questions. I'm going to go into group exercise for 10 minutes, maybe 12 minutes. So in here, I'd like you to, in your discussion, to share your experience of leaders that you can identify that have either brought the most out of people or through the diminished behaviors, help people back. So if you can cast your minds back to anything that you've identified, and then from a self-awareness, share what you believe that you, how you show up as a multiplier, and where you can change or improve to become more of a multiplier, and when and how you've identified yourself perhaps as an accidental diminisher. And finally, from the ideas shared in your group, what are you going to do to improve your multiplier disciplines? What could you do to inch that forward, what actions could you take in the next 30, 60, 90 days around your team that you know that you could develop that to get those results and help those people grow? So we're going to go into group discussion now. Remember the etiquette. Remember to try and stick to the, no, not try, but to stick to the questions posed and to allow enough time for everyone to have their say. So, yeah, Andy, if you could put everyone into group now for me, we'll call you back in 12 minutes. Right, welcome back, everyone.
I've had a great breakout session.
Have you?
Yeah, it was great.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, that's what I find is like the energy in the group is just special, really. When it's online, I just blows my mind that everyone's able to achieve that. Fantastic. So we've got a couple of minutes for any shares. Now you could ask us some questions, but you know, Julie and I didn't write the book, so we might not have the answer. But still, you know, welcome to answer the question. Ask questions. Someone else in the group might have a great answer. But what we're really interested in is any shares you have, any takeaways, any insights, things that you've discovered from that session that, yeah, I would like to do this differently or do that differently. That would be really good. But please, if anyone would like to share any insights, takeaways for a couple of minutes before we go to break.
I've got a share and a question, if that's okay.
Go for it, Jodie.
So, I mean, we were reflecting in our group that we kind of are a bit of both and a bit in the middle on a lot of these. And what puts me in the middle, yeah, what puts me in the middle is stress. And also when I don't feel like people are responding quick enough. And it made me reflect on, I think I'm giving people, you know, I think I'm creating accountability, but I'm not convinced I actually am, or else this wouldn't happen. So then it led to conversation Georgia brought up, because I was talking about maybe I need to give them a number, as Julie had said, like that they're responsible for. So because that's, you know, the fast track way of doing it. Then we started talking about scorecards for teams, and Georgia mentioned that Kevin, you have something for teams. It'd be great if you could share that.
I will. Yeah.
Anyway, so it was really, you know, I work in this space, but it's really nice to be the delegate and get to think about myself. So I found it really, really helpful session from both you and Julie. So thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. So when we get together later, yeah, we can go through scorecards and stuff like that. Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing, Jodie. Anyone else would like to share their insights, takeaways, something they'd like to do differently as a result of today?
Some hands up, Kevin. Sonia.
Can I just share? It's Alex.
Alex, yeah.
Hi. I think when I was reflecting on it, sort of what my style is, I sort of thought, do I behave differently with different members of the team? So I don't know whether that's something that's common, particularly where you've maybe got someone that's not performing very well and actually is going into that, so some of those diminisher traits, does that actually make the situation worse? So I don't know if that's something anybody else has observed, but that was something I thought I probably slip into.
Yeah, I bet they have observed. I bet they have observed that, and I think my immediate reflections upon that would be that what's brilliant about this book, it brings awareness. So when I was working for Paul, I didn't know he was such a diminisher until I read the book, and they brought the awareness and went, oh my God, now I can identify that behavior, that behavior, that behavior. And I think now for us in this position, we go, oh, so that's how I show up in that environment. I got an opportunity now to change and do something differently and see if I get a different result, and wouldn't expect it overnight. But also, you might not choose to change. You might go, yeah, I'm being an accidental diminisher or a deliberate diminisher, and I just, maybe I just don't like this person. So, you know, they're either going to be leaving your company in a relatively short period of time, or you're going to choose to work them differently to hopefully improve their performance. I think mostly, it's just awareness. Like, this is what this book brings, incredible awareness.
I think Mike also brought up in our session about maybe being slightly different approaches for different sort of levels in the organization. Again, you know, he was sort of talking about, say, a sales team, or, you know, if we thought about like a call center or something like that, you know, you'd use a different approach, I guess, in terms of how much of a multiplier you would behave as with those? Is that something?
Maybe it depends. At the end of the day, it's about the result, isn't it? How much do you want to give how much do you want to, and how can you therefore give the team, your staff, the people, the opportunities to open and spread their wings? How do you create an environment to get more out of them, rather than, because I don't know, arguably sometimes you might want them boxed and just doing that thing and nothing else.
Great, thank you. It's a great session.
Thank you so much, Alex. We can time for one more and then we'll go to break.
I think Sonia's had a hand up for a while.
Is it sore now, Sonia?
It's sore. I know my yellow hand. It's like I'm Homer Simpson. Really good session. Really thoughtful. And I guess it's a question I posed earlier because I'm aware, like everyone, yes, sometimes more multiplier, sometimes more diminisher. And I guess particularly, Julie, I'd be interested to know what you do if sometimes almost what the team wants from you are diminishing behaviours, to be told what to do perhaps, or for you to make the decision, even if you're not the best person sometimes. I'm just thinking, how do you resist those urges? Because like a lot of people, I think, you can have people pleasing urges and you want to do the best by your team, but it can be short-term best for your team and help in the immediacy, but it's not necessarily the long-term right decision to make. And again, I don't think anybody does it to be a diminisher from either side, but I'm just interested, how can you kind of move everyone more to multiplier when that happens?
I think from my point of view is when I read the book, I definitely fall into accidental diminisher, because just by, if you think of me and Emma, her as the visionary, me as the integrator, I will fall into get things done. Come on, guys, I know the answer to this. Let's go. But now, and it's the discipline where I've got to stop myself, because if I keep doing that behavior, I am going to block off, and I'm going to block off potential and that contribution from the team. And I'm not saying I get it right every time, and sometimes we do have to make a quick decision, and sometimes it is. But I communicate that. Why are we not having a big, debate? It's about communication, and if the team know, okay, we it's quite bad. We have one of our core values in CHS. It's our internal one, is get shit done. Sometimes it's around, but I communicate, because we work in events as well. So it's kind of like the deadline's a deadline. We're going to move, but it's that communication. It's that having that discipline of communicating it through and still allowing them to understand why I've made that quick decision, why I haven't maybe brought them all in. And again, I've learned that through Emma doing it. So I'm not saying we get it right all of the time, because I don't think you can. But I think it's awareness.
Julie, I guess what happens if I came to you and I want you to make the decision for me?
Well, I'd push back and ask why. And there'd be different, depending on what it was, but I would definitely it would be a two-way conversation, and I'd be asking, and if that's your job and that's what you're taking ownership and you've been given that ownership, it would definitely be a conversation around, is it support you're needing? Are you struggling? Is there something you need from me? Is there a blocker I need to move? Or are they not taking ownership and they are struggling? So you've got to understand where they're coming from. So I think there's a conversation to be had to understand what the issue is, and it might be get on with it. If it's not, do you know what I mean? Sometimes it is a tougher conversation. But if they're struggling, or it's a teaching, or they're needing something from me, or there's something blocking them, then it's up for me as their manager to move it.
Nice.
For them to be.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Right then, thank you so much, everyone. So it's 11:30. We'll invite you to come back from break at 11:45. And when you come back from break, Gavin and I are going to have a quick conversation to talk about the skills day that he's going to be delivering for us on the 6th of April. So so when you come back, Gavin and I will have a quick conversation about that with in front of you all, and then following that, then we're going to go into this brand new diagnostic tool that's been created by Tabitha and their team for all of your benefit, which Dan will be sharing with you. So we'll see you back in 15 minutes at 11:45. Please don't check out again. Just put yourselves on mute like as before. Thank you.
Thank you.